Yo, so I am Jimmy October, singer, songwriter, creative director, lover of creation. Yeah. Right!
Tell me about Grandy. What's your favorite thing about Grandy?
Favorite thing about Grandy is I feel like it's peaceful. And it's just kind of like country, right? So it just has its own. You could, like, when you enter there, you know that you're not in the west, you're not in the east, and I mean east side is the peace side too. But yeah, like Grandy has like its own little aura and vibe, which I think everybody like from there knows. Is like you don't even have to say it, you just kind of know that it's in the air, and it is what it is. If you know, you know. But yeah, that's a special place.
What are the things about Grandy that kind of like shaped you as a person?
A lot of outside. Even me, I wasn't like going outside all the time because I was actually behind a computer trying to learn how to make beats and write songs. But even in that, it's like you would go outside. I have a older brother by a year, so I have to be playing football. We was playing football, playing cricket in the streets, like that type of thing. That's something that was special. And just like a real neighborhood vibe sooner. I do think Grandy is filled with talent. It's not always easy to be able to see it and know it, but that's something that I don't want to say we changed, but we try our best to change more and more now and make sure that people, you know what I mean, we hold space in what the creative space is in Trinidad. Yeah.
Not to cut you, I'm just saying I got to give you some credit because a lot of the talent that comes out of Grandy I've learned like through you, and you're related to Putin, right? Yeah. So like I'm connecting the dots in that way, and I feel the energy is like very different amongst y'all, but it's a consistent like.
It is. I think the awareness of that and is intentional. Is important. That's something that's important to us, to make sure that you know where we come from. You know that energy is coming from somewhere. I remember when I was growing up here in Carnival, darling from Treason, and being like, wow, but them fellas from Grandy.
So who's Treason for the people who wouldn't know?
Treason is considered, I mean, I don't know, to me, those guys are like staples. They're from Grandy. But yeah, big up Grandy. Anybody from Grandy doing dope things.
So your dad was around these artists.
Yeah.
What was like your musical upbringing, I guess? Were you around a lot of music a lot?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. My house in general was and still is filled with music lovers. I grew up listening to like a wide range of music, which is why I think I gravitate so much to genre bending and trying new things and, you know, putting things that don't really belong next to each other in the eyes of probably other people. Putting them next, yeah, exactly. I grew up listening to Michael Jackson. Listen to Michael Jackson this morning, Bourgeois in an hour, Sizzler in 5 minutes, like the Beatles, and like all in the same day. And it's like there was so much different things happening sonically, and that was always real interesting, because it was just like it never felt different. It was just music. It was just feeling. I would sing with my mother all the time.
That's so cute.
Like all the time. And so she's remind me of that.
Like, you know, you got that from me, right?
She'd be like, you know, because we used to like. I mean, obviously, if we not always in the same place and time now, so it might be different. So we don't sing together as much. But that was like a real prominent thing, and I feel like a big part of the beginning of I like music, because I probably fell in love first with just writing, because my mom writes poetry, but the music part was like I need to learn how to do this. How do I figure this out? So yeah,
I want to get back to your mom too, because that's very interesting. But I think one thing about Caribbean like Caribbean musicians particularly, the reason why the music sounds so good, in my opinion, is because of the wide range of sounds that we listen to. And I think on the outside, it's kind of perceived that everybody likes soca, everybody likes this, everybody listens to one calypso, and that's it. And I think just that's something I want to like shed some more light on in terms of like your influences, especially like who's somebody that you would say is like one of your big influences musically.
Big.
Any genre.
You want like a OG or you want somebody?
Let's start with the OG.
In a lot of ways, I would say like Michael Jackson is, Bob Marley, Prince, Jimi Hendrix. Yeah,
a dog.
And it all has a lot to do with I know when people think influences, you might think sound, but obviously it's not that. It's these like those individuals are who they are. They're themselves. And yeah, seeing that, like seeing Prince wearing XYZ and being like, oh, seeing Michael and the shiny, and being like, alright, okay. You know what I mean? Like that is like there's this individualism that you kind of like I'm attracted to that. So
that's important, I feel, and it's felt too through your artistry because you obviously saying, and we all know just from your music, you're genre band, so it's more than just saying like you're a Trinidadian artist. You are an artist, period, from Trinidad.
100%.
And I think so. I guess like what's the importance of like your artistic identity and pairing that with your cultural identity?
Yeah. In times, I feel like in times like the times that we are in now, being an artist from Trinidad and being somebody who is experimenting, being somebody who is trying to find themselves and their sound and the things that they want to put into the world, artistic identity is important because it's different from everything else that's happening around you. It might be influenced by, it might be connected to, it might be right next to, but it's different. And I feel like that needs to be shown because I think a big part of every time I ask myself, there are moments in my life and moments in my career where I keep going back to why. Why do I do?
That's important.
Why do I show up? Why the effort? Why the energy? And a big answer to that, and part of the purpose is to show that it could be done. There's kids who don't know that it could be done, but they want to and they feel like they're inclined to and they want to mix these colors and mix these sounds. But if somebody not doing it, then we taking steps back then. And they'll end up having to start where I start. And then that kind of defeats the whole purpose of why am I here as well? Why is Freetown here? And why is Kuta here? Why is Kess here? Like these are people who are pushing boundaries, showing up as who you are, doing what you do. And we learn those things as well from I know I mentioned treason, but we learn those things as well from people like Tree Canal as well. The ability to show up as that artistic,
like it's a rebelliousness,
that identity. It's not like everything else that you're seeing, and that helped me. So it is part of my responsibility and purpose to be and do that for people that come in.
Amen.
And for them to see that 100%.
Amen. Because you mentioned an artist like Prince is like my top, nobody above that. And I agree in terms of like it's not just about the music; it's about like the daredness to just be and to exist. And you're obviously somebody who's at the forefront of like a very different movement right now, and I think just to give you some flowers, that's something to be proud of too, because I remember I don't know if you remember when I first met you, it was on like FaceTime years ago with Kristen. And he was like, "Yo, you gotta hear," and I had just met him too. He's like, "You gotta hear this guy, Jimmy October."
Yeah. I remember.
And from that moment on, I was like, I've never heard anything like this before. And y'all are like my age group, so this is like so like I gotta learn more about this.
Yeah.
And it was still like you guys are still building and very established, but still building. And so to see you here today and like talking about these things, it's very like wow. First of all, I'm happy to see it, but also like, has there been like any like challenge? Obviously, there's been challenges along the way. You gotta answer that, but like being that person, being that first to some degree of being the person who's like bold enough to try something new, is that like how do you approach that, especially in Trinidad? Because Trinidad is not easy to please, and not easy.
It's real interesting, because I think if I start thinking about it, sometimes when I feel like a challenge is a challenge, I need to reshape perspective. So I need to think of it differently, the context completely different. And if I think of it and remove myself from the idea of the artist, the identity, the style, the music, all of those things, if I remove a bit of that and think of it as a gift, because that is what it is. But sometimes you have to remove yourself from the gift. And if I am removed from the gift, but the gift exists, and the gift is yours, then you need to do what the gift requires. What does the gift ask for from you? Why is the gift here? Why does it exist? Are you going to give it to somebody? And if I think of it like that, a lot of times, I mean, obviously that's removing ego at that point. So it's not about what I feel and I am here to X, Y, Z. At that point in time, it's just about the gift. And then answers start to, you start to realize that it's not really so much about me. And the challenges, and again, I don't want to say I don't want to list a bunch of challenges. But because I feel like I was saying earlier, we all live a very similar life. In a different way, but a lot of times very connected. I think challenges, something that for me is being yourself there's a lot happening around you. And you could be swayed because of that. You could think, oh, I'm not hitting 2 million plays because I'm not doing this. But this person is because they're doing that. Maybe I should do that. And things like that, because you, at that point in time, you think of what you should do to be something else or to get something else. And it's not really about that. That's not really what the gift requires. So that's a challenge. Sometimes thinking of the possibilities. What are the possibilities? What are the possibilities for our artists in Trinidad and Tobago that wants to get his music heard by the world or by the people that it's meant for? As much people as he could touch, as much people as he could reach, as much people as he could connect with and send this like vibration and frequency to. What are how much of that do we have? How easy is that? Is that attainable? You start asking yourself questions.
Well, it's essential.
You start thinking about, oh wow, we bounce up a lot of times when I'm in New York. But even if you think about that, it's like 2 years ago I wasn't traveling.
Right.
I wasn't going anywhere.
It was such a pleasure to finally see you there.
But even that, it's like, what are the things that I need to do to be able to take these steps to get my music to the wider world as well? And those things are real challenging. Because it's not set up for you. It's not in a scenario where it's like, okay, you get the degree. When you get the degree, you take it here. And when you take it here, your aunt know this person. And this person is going to take it to the next place. It's a lot of it is making things And I mean, not to, and I don't even want to sound like, but making things and seeing what it does.
Yeah. And not even know what the outcome is going to be. So do you ever feel like, again, you make very different type of sounds.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like the pressure of like stereotypes, or like do you ever feel the pressure to conform to making a popular sound, or have you, or like in all of that, in making your different sound, do you feel like here you get stereotyped, you can possibly get stereotyped, or even abroad, like when people are first introduced to you as an artist? Like what's that experience like?
Both happen, but it's two different it's two different forms of stereotype. For instance, I would put a song like "Healing" out during Carnival. There's like piano there, there's some soca there, there's some, and the impression that I would get from that space is kind of like, oh well, that's not soca, and it's not close enough. Even a song like "Soca Party," it's sort of in the house. They'll be like, yeah, it's in the room, it's in the space, it's sitting all right here. But is it really that though? Or you're being a little too artsy with it, bro. It's like, pull it back a little bit. Don't do all the.
So even with that, like, do you feel like the people who know your music and they hear a soca party, are they thinking like, oh, why are you making soca now? Or like,
but that's the thing. That's the exact thing, because on one side, somebody, maybe more so the masses, will be like, oh, that's not really soca. But then on this side, somebody else will say, I feel like you're doing what everybody else doing now, or you're trying to do what everybody else doing now, and you're not keeping in touch with you. My thing is, for me, I want the freedom. I've always wanted the freedom. I want to be able to make the things that I want to make. I do want to find more and more ways to take the things that are a big part of me and where I come from, and put them in spaces that you mightn't think it belong, and make it something new. You know, I know that there's a challenge in doing things like that, but who gonna do it? It's similar, and I know we was talking off the camera about even like Young Brother and his movement. It's rooted in things that are Trini.
yeah,
It's rooted in things that are who we are. But he doing that in his way.
Yeah.
In a fresh way, a new way. And for me, I think that's dope.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that kind of pulls you into it. And to even be able to hear, let's say, Young Brother and Cohen on a record, it's like, oh.
First of all, that was my tune. Like,
oh, right. It's like this. These things could live in the same place. And there are instances where you will see that collaboration does help with it, like me and Cass. It's not soca, but it is influenced by soca and calypso, and we make our thing. You know what I mean? And it's able to live in this space. I feel like we need more of that. I am driven to make more things like that, and to keep knocking that too until it's like, yes,
it's just understood.
Yeah, 100%.
A big assumption about Trinidad culture is this carnival.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you know? I meet people that have that experience.
You know, and I understand, but I think like you two as an example, it's like showing a different way of being, like the cool aspect, like the new generation. You know what I'm saying? How do you see the culture of Trinidad being pushed differently, or like being perceived in a different way outside of just carnival culture?
The idea in my head is for the space to be open, for the space to be free. I want people all over the world to know, when you think Trinidad, you think dope.
Yes.
Like fire soca, fire calypso, fire reggae, fire Trinidad, fire Steve, like every everything coming out of here is just fire.
Yeah.
That's what I want people to think. That's what I want people to realize. I want people to, and not just even on a music front. There's dope photographers here, dope videographers, people that are helping us bring our ideas to life as well. There's dope artists. It's there's so much going on here, and it can go on January to December, and it is gonna go on January to December. You know?
Yeah. So in that, like, what would you say? How the role the community plays in like what you do?
You need to be, I guess, at least somewhere near to the same page. People need to see, the people that you're working with need to see a vision. They need to believe in what you're making. They need to understand as well what your why is. Like why this? Why even dare to be different? When most of the time it's not really a matter of daring to be different. It's just you being you.
Yeah.
But it's different in the eyes of other people. But sometimes that's just all you could be. Because you're probably not even good at doing the other thing, like what everybody else is doing. You're good at doing you. And you need people. I say this a lot of times when I talk to like my friends. We may do a lot of glorifying to the position of the front man, the artist, and what that is. There's a lot of like glorifying of that. I will say being an artist is very difficult.
No, absolutely.
Especially at like the forefront.
Yeah.
Being somebody who has to show up, being somebody who has to
be the product
give.
Too.
You have to give.
Yeah.
Something I spoke about to a friend. I mean, this is me when I was on the road and going through my emotions. We don't talk about enough. You know how much artists try to be liked, like try to show up as the best version of themselves, to be liked, for somebody to like your music, for somebody to like things about you. For in reality, I don't know if people, that's exhausting.
It's not sustainable at all.
It's like it actually it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to be this like product and thing. You have to like sell yourself, and in reality, all you really want to do is make music.
Yeah, and like yourself too.
And like it, but things come with who we are and what we're trying to do, and trying to deliver this thing to people, trying to get people to connect. You know, trying to do your part. There's things that come with that, and I do feel like sometimes we have a lot of people who want to be that, and I would like people to know as well that the photographer is very important. The videographer is very important. The manager is very important. The PR person is very important. The person styling you is very important. These other roles should be glorified a little bit more too, because they help pull the whole thing together when you, the artist, might be feeling like you're on 10%.
Yeah. And
who giving the pep talk to bring you up to speed?
Right.
Who reminding you like, nah, you look fly, like do this with your hair, or like who making sure that the video is able to tell the story that you want to tell. There's people that do those things, and those positions and those spots are very, very, very important.
Yeah, great.
And we need more people tapping into that space, to those spaces, because you're as important as whoever the artist is.
And I think just showcasing that more and even just talking about that. I know when I was growing up, representation was like a big thing for me, and even in terms of like the career paths that you could take, the front man is glorified. Yeah. So a lot of people think, okay, if I want to be creative, I have to be the front person. Yeah. But that may not be your disposition. That may not be your personality. Maybe you'd find your passion in something else by pursuing the singing. I'm sure you've done other things along the way. I know you did poetry at some point, and that probably was like a weaving into your making music. So I just think, that's important. Like everybody can hone into different parts of themselves and actually like be fulfilled in that, you know, and 100%. Find some purpose in that. And you seem like a very grounded person? Because you say you're 29, right?
Yeah, I'll be 30 in October.
About 30
Yeah.
but you know, we here. Getting older is a blessing.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I love getting older.
So how do you keep yourself grounded? Like as somebody who's still relatively young in this field, like
Yeah.
how do you keep yourself grounded and self motivated? Like is there any rituals or like books or like what's your thing?
I'll say, I mean, just to speak before I get into the other things that are probably more so in my control, I would say the grounding heavily. I mean, my mom is a big part of that. The way I was raised, the people that are around me, my team, that plays a big part in the grounding, and even your friends, and the I say this again, more things that I say to friends that I don't say on the camera. Um, you could you could be this thing, like you could be the Jimmy October, how much you want, like that's fine, and everybody could see that, and you could be that. But when you lie down in the night, at the end of the day, even I usually say this a lot about intimate relationships and also like your partners and the people that you're with. It's like you like your mother, your parents, your significant others, your siblings, your friends, people that you interact with a lot. Those people see you cry, they see you at your lowest, they see you, they don't just see what everybody else sees. And that is this that a couple of years ago that has become a very big reality for me. And why not be grounded? It's hard not to be to be fair, because when you think about that, it's like when you at these points that in your mind you don't even know, you can't even, you're just like, why do I even do this? What are the things that I'm going back to? Where's the root? Where's the, like, you need a hug from somebody to be like, yo, you have this, like that is it. Those things are the grounding right there. Those things are the things that remind you that, you know what, all this aside, at the end of the day, you're just a human being. You know?
Amen. You and God at that point.
Again, and you can't hide. You can't hide from that. You can't hide from the fact that you make crazy mistakes. You can't hide from the fact that, like, life is tough and you're moving through the same things that other people are moving through, and that, like, none of this makes you. It does not make you better than anybody else. It really doesn't. So that is a big thing, and now therapy.
Amen.
Yeah.
Shout out to therapy.
Yeah, like,
love my therapist.
Yeah, over the past few years, because of somebody close to me, I got into, I mean, having to do therapy. It was something that before I was kind of like, I mean, one, I couldn't afford it, really and truly. And I don't want to say I didn't really understand the idea of it. So obviously, you're growing up, you don't really know, you just know of it. And tapping into it, that has been something that has really helped me and continues to help me. Meditation is also something that was introduced, that's a part of my life over the past couple of years. And that's something that, real necessary for me. And I mean, I meditated today, but sometimes I fall out of the flex. I kind of be like, and then it's like, sometimes I feel like I don't even know. When you have to remind yourself, it's like, yo, this is part of taking care of yourself. So, because you deserve that. So remember that you have to make the time to do that, just like you have to make the time to get back to that email. I get up, I meditate, I pray, I go to the gym, I start my day in the spirit of, okay, cool. Let's this is this point, that point, the next point, and I can flow as the day, do the things that I need to do. So adding some structure with that, and that's like to me at least, that's a big, aside from physical, that's a big mental win. Locking in for the time that you're there to focus, and you have time to, you do have time to think about other things. Even the way you think about it becomes different.
It's a flow.
Exactly. So I'll say those three things.
Okay. I think something a lot of artists struggle with is like structure. And
Yeah.
it's like I understand the fluidness of like being an artist, but that groundedness is what's gonna help you flow into everything that you gotta do.
I had to learn that.
What are you saying? Like,
Yeah.
what's something that's making you happy right now?
Wow. Why?
You can say me.
Something that is making me happy right now. I will say, I mean, just because of the week that I had, I was home with my mom this week, and that made me happy to be to be. I mean, I haven't been home like there for like a month. Just in that space, see her come home from work, talk to her, harass her. Yeah, that makes me happy.
So is your mom encouraging, or was she in the very start encouraging with your music career?
100%.
It's a blessing.
Yeah, that is my mom. Obviously, my mom has she was very much. You better go to school and make sure it balancing.
Yeah.
Because that's her job as a mother, right? But she has always been like a cheerleader in that way of be you, do you, find the things that you love. Even today, like I was having a conversation with her yesterday about that. Even it's like there's always those reminders and those things that you forget sometimes because you're caught up trying to get to goals and trying to do XYZ and seeing the whole world. But when you get reminded that, like remember, she said something, she was like, remember you have something, remember that that's why you're doing what you're doing. You have something and you have a light to shine and you have to shine that. You know what I mean? Sometimes like that might be simple to hear or to even repeat, but it's at the right time.
Yeah, and it's come from mom.
Yeah, that feels like, that's it. Yeah.
Duh. Yeah. Like,
you didn't know?
It's
like why you didn't know that? Yeah, it's like you should know that, but those things like you can't tell yourself that sometimes.
Yeah. What's a non-music related goal that you have for your life? If you have, that you can think of.
Wow. Interesting.
We're getting deep here.
Yeah, and I mean I think it's deep. I think to build a life, to build I mean the only reason why I'm saying something more so on a personal level is because it is something that I think we don't talk about a lot as artists.
Yeah. Just goal.
Yeah.
Task.
I would like to build a life with someone.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. In a very real human way. Not and it's the same thing I was speaking about the artist thing and the like, yes. That's vibes.
Yeah.
It's a big part of the purpose, but another big part of the purpose is figuring out how to actually like to be a like good dope human being too. To treat people right, to figure out what that balance is. And yeah, that's I don't know if that's a weird thing, but that's something that is important to me.
Even you're saying, I don't know if that's a weird thing. Like, well, we should normalize the things that aren't just like our career, or like desire wise.
But that's not glorified in our world, though.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not. We don't talk about. I think it's dope how like for instance Bungie lifts up his life. It's like yeah, like music aside and everything that you view them for, they're human beings in the real world.
And the love is so real.
Like we should glorify that and like lift that up because that's dope. Because that is somebody in our space that is an artist, that is two artists that are successful, that are showing us an example of love within the industry. And that is dope.
Yeah.
So
people always ask you, what's next? You just dropped a song yesterday, so what's next?
No, like that's crazy. What are you guys song?
I know, like, did you hear the song?
Did you even stream this one? It's like, bro.
You 30 seconds in.
In all honesty, and I mean, these are probably I think I speak a lot in the context of the last 5 years because there are like certain realizations that I've had in the last 5 years that help govern me today and how I am today, not how I was. And a lot of times I don't have the answer to that question, and the reason why is because my brethren actually asked me yesterday about what I have coming up, and I was like, I mean, only God knows. I know my goal is to finish all this music. There's like that's in my head to wrap up things that I need to wrap up and do my part and show up and know, okay, cool, this is the case. How do I roll this out? How do I do this? How do I do that? But to be ready for whatever's next. The actual happenings, I don't do that. That's just a real thing.
Yeah.
I don't move that. I don't move that. Like that marker. That's God.
Yeah.
That's
like I have to feel right.
Yeah. I need to understand what is put in front of me, the position I'm in, and the place that I'm in at the moment. What does the next level and stage require of me? I need to show up for those things and then be, all right, I'm ready.
Yeah.
What you might have goals, but a lot of times, let's be real, like God laughs at your goals and then tells you, nah, we going up.
Higher.
Yeah, he said next.
Yeah.
He said, woo! And you're just like, all right, wow, all right. But that's it. So I try not to even give too much to that because it's like you could create all these scenarios and things in your head of things that you want to do, things they're gonna do, blah 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 blah. The song coming here and the this and then he say, yeah, not that. It's not that.
Yeah, good idea though.
He say, but this is where we going. Yeah. He say, you prepped for this or it was. What you was doing? You was getting ready for something. I never tell you get ready for this. You was getting ready for something else. So back to the drawing board, and we're going down this road now. So, and that I see that happens so many times in my life. I said when I went on the first tour, with Cass, I remember being so low before that. Being so, I mean, obviously, I didn't know that was gonna happen. I didn't know that was gonna be an opportunity that presented itself. Nothing. I was in a space where I was just like, there's so much to do. I wanna make this music. I wanna do X, Y, Z. Da 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 da. You get a phone call.
That's it.
Yo, I had to actually come back home because I was out of the country at the time. I was like, yo. You have to go home, you have rehearsals to do XYZ, you have to start to put together a set because in 2 months
you're on the road.
And I was like, oh.
And do you feel like you was prepared for that up to that moment?
Yeah, I was ready for it because I did the things I needed to do. But if I wasn't ready, then I might not make it out. I might not have been on the tour.
Right.
Because I could have been getting ready for something else. Right. And I could have even been getting ready to say, you know what? I don't want to make music anymore.
Right. And here you are applying for a job when they call you.
But that's not it. He's like, yo, I know you know you had an episode last night, you cried, you wasn't sure what was going on and all that. Pick yourself up, head back down the road, get ready for the tour. That's what God telling you. He's like, this is one next on the agenda.
Right.
And you just, in all honesty, just have to surrender to that it is what it is.
And tour life is not,
oh my God.
It's not easy.
It's not pretty at all. It's not.
And it's not just like the glitz and glamour of travel.
No way.
Because you lay down, you wake back up, you gotta be back on the road. Or just like, it's just being in transit constantly.
Airport, lobby, hotel room, sound check, show. Sometime
mingle after the show, take pictures.
Airport, lobby.
That's it.
Sleep on the chair. It's like
and showing up as the best
still showing up to do what you're called to do. I know a lot of it might look pretty, but it's tough.
Yeah.
But that's the game.
Yeah.
You know?
And you're prepared.
You had to be ready.
So when it's all said and done,
yeah,
what do you want people to take away from your life, your career, your existence, your artistry? No, that's a very profound question, but if you could say anything about that.
Generally, I just want people to believe in themselves. And to know that it was difficult for me, just like it is for you to believe in themselves. Like, I want you to know that I was trying my best to show up as my best. And that's for you to do the same thing. And yeah.
Ashe.
This is Riddim, so in conversation with Jimmy October.
Rock.